Running a travel business can be overwhelming, but imagine if there was a single tool that helped you look professional, stay organized, was easy to use, and affordable. That's just what Travify does. Travify gives you the essential tools you need to look like a travel biz pro. Travify is the most trusted system used by over 30,000 travel brands worldwide. So get started with a system that helps you get back to the joy of planning travel and run your travel business like a pro with Travify.
Finding the perfect resort for your clients can be frustrating and take hours of research. TA Toolkit solves that problem for you. We have over 700 items your clients request, plus you can search multiple destinations at once. You'll have a list of resorts that match your clients' needs in less than 10 minutes. Sign up today with the promo code WAVEPREP2024 for a 14-day free trial. TA Toolkit, it's about time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to day 5. Can you believe that we got here? We made it all 5 days of prep for Wave Week. It is expansion day. So you've gone through foundations, operating your business, how to market and how to sell a little bit better. And so the next step really is how to take your business to the next level if it's not where exactly you would like it to be. And so we have amazing topics, including one you may or may not have heard about, which is hotel representation and how you can partner up with a hotel representation company to really differentiate your services amongst other travel advisors who are doing a lot of putting their own packages together for their clients. So without further ado, we have an amazing guest speaker on this topic because she is in the hotel representation business with Wanderlux Collection. Welcome, Angelique Johns, to Prep for Wave Week.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here with you today, Rita.
Yeah, likewise.
To share some information about representation companies and then, more specifically, the best way that everybody can work with them.
Yes. Now I do have to ask because I've been looking at your background for a little bit. Is your background a property that you represent?
I would not say it's a property that I represent,
Okay.
but I've worked kind of in hotel supplier management for a while. So I've worked with many different hotels.
Okay.
And specifically, when I was working in hotel representation, it's kind of where I developed my niche in the European market.
Mm-hmm. I see that and I'm like, I just want to jump in there and relax on that chase over there. So for people who like this is a whole new term for them, what is hotel representation?
Yeah, so I would say the easiest way that I describe it is basically, as far as representation companies, there are a lot in the North American market. Specifically for me, I am just hotel representation. So I only represent hotels. There are other representation companies that represent hotels, they represent DMCs, they represent travel related services.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're each, a little bit different. But as a foundation, our goal, as I see it, is really to bring additional brand awareness to the hotels or, whatever partner we're representing, to bring them additional brand awareness,
Mm-hmm.
of course, to bring them room nights and revenue to their overall bottom line. I kind of, when I'm talking to potential clients or with my current clients, I always say you really can look at me as an extension of your hotel sales team.
Mm-hmm.
So I work strictly B2B. So I'm working with travel agencies, with travel advisors, more specifically on an individual basis or, at the agency level to educate the advisors about the hotels that I represent, to share information about them, what client is a good fit for each of the properties. And I think that's really where travel advisors have a very difficult job, is to figure out what their clients are looking for and then to find the hotel or the experience that fits them the best.
Mm-hmm. Would you say that you're almost like a BDM for these individual hotel properties?
Yes, I think that's a really, a really nice way to put it.
Okay.
Is like that. I think the difference the biggest difference with a BDM is typically they're employed by whatever company. So if it's a BDM for, a group of properties or something in Mexico or the Caribbean, they're actually employees of the property. Whereas those of us in the hotel representation or representation space, we own our own companies. And so our clients or our partners, we contract with them for the services that are provided. So much like advisors that are out there, partnering with a host agency or a partner in that space, but you're your own business many times.
I love that you mentioned that too, because I feel like almost a camaraderie being able to work with somebody else who's also a small business as opposed to like this big, large corporation, which kind of segues into something else that I feel might be a popular question, which is like, what would differentiate what you do versus what a booking engine might be able to do? So I'm thinking some of the properties that you represent might be featured on something like a Classic Vacations or another, like you might be able to book. So what's the difference between what you do and what that platform would do, or something like that platform might do?
Right. So what I do, and it's kind of my theme if folks go out to my website and see that is, really to share about the properties, why the property is unique, who the client is, who is the ideal client, what they can do in that area. And that's information, you can't just get from going to some of those different booking engines that you talked about. And I know for advisors, that's what you're promoting to your clients too, is, I can share information about the hotel or the experiences that you can't find online. And that's really a value that advisors bring to their clients. And then that's a value that I want to bring to the advisors, on behalf of my clients. So many times I get advisors that will contact me and say, okay, I have a client interested in, Greece or France or Spain, wherever. And my question always to them is, okay, tell me a little bit about that client. What are they looking for? What hotels do they like to stay at? Is it a couple versus a family? Is it so very similar to the information that the advisors are collecting? That's something I ask them so that then I can go back to them and say, okay, these are the hotels that I think would be a good fit. Here's some fun things maybe that the advisor didn't know about in the area, to give that advisor an advantage when they're going to their client, to say, hey, I know someone that has stayed at this hotel. I know that these are some really cool things that you may want to add to your itinerary. And I think that's the part of it that gives the advisors an advantage, right? You can't stay at all the properties, even though we'd like to. But having someone that that has stayed there, that's done things very close by, I think it's a great advantage. And I always say, I'm here to be a resource for the advisors. Once we have a conversation, if you decide to go and book it with a Classic Vacations or with a local DMC, that's totally fine. I appreciate the fact that you're booking one of the hotels that I represent in whatever manner works best, because that's another area where advisors have to figure out, okay, do I book with the DMC? Do I book with the tour operator? Do I book direct with the property? And I think that really, again, depends on the client.
I feel like another big question that might come up is, why do I need to, or what's the benefit of going to you and getting hotel information, and why not just reach out to the hotel directly? Almost kind of like, why is the hotel employing quote unquote, because you are a contractor, employing you to do this and not doing it on their behalf per se? I have a thought about it, but I would love to hear like your own thoughts and being in the industry too.
Yes. So I think a lot of that depends on, the hotels specific to the clients that I represent or my partners. they are, one of my clients has really grown over the last 6 years that we've partnered together. But they are, for the most part, when I started working with them, they were not well known in the North America market.
Okay.
They didn't have the expansive sales team to, number one, employ someone in the North America market, because we all know having an employee, what that entails as far as benefits and all of that. There's that
Mhm.
whole package in addition to salary. And so for many hotels or hotel groups, it's an advantage to have them, represented with a representation company, or specifically a hotel representation company, because they pay, you know, um, they're paying us to be out there to represent them,
Mhm.
and provide services. For instance, if you have someone that part of their job, right, they're with a hotel in Europe, part of their job is the North America market. So
Mhm.
perhaps they make 2 sales trips to the US in a year. And typically, if hotels are coming to the US, they're going to hit the big cities. They're going to hit New York, they're hit Chicago, and then maybe LA. So they have a 3-week trip, say, they hit those areas, they go back to Europe, stay in contact, with some of the folks they met, and but that's only a fraction
Mhm.
of what they're doing, because they're also selling the hotel in Europe, they're selling the hotel, they might be working with companies in the Middle East with, so it's only a percentage of their job that they're covering the North America market.
Right.
Whereas with having a representation company, we are in the market, we live in North America. We are out doing sales calls on a regular basis. We're attending events. I will be at Tea Fest coming up. So if anybody's there, let me know. Please reach out. Um, we're talking with advisors on a regular basis.
Okay.
And so for 365 days a year, we're out promoting, the services. We're out promoting the hotels. If a rep company also has DMCs, so we're out there in the market 365 days a year, versus the hotel having an employee that comes over for a few weeks and maybe does some follow up.
Mhm.
So I think that's certainly an advantage. The other thing is, our North America market is different than some of the other markets.
Right.
Uh, and so, us being the experts in the market, I think really provides a valuable service to the partners that we work with.
I love that you mentioned that because that's not something that I had thought about how, because I know that Greece is you have a couple properties in Greece that you represent, and how a small property really would get their name out outside of the local market. Like, how do I break into the markets that are wanting to visit here that aren't local to the destination?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I was interested to hear what your thoughts on that are. And I will say, like, with in talking with my clients, and explaining about the North America market and how it works, and how it's different. One of the biggest things here, we all saw it after the pandemic, is many of the agencies that had a brick and mortar building, that went away.
Hmm.
The advisors here in North America are, a lot of them are remote. There's less and less people that are going into an office every day.
Right.
And that's unique for our market compared to other markets where, someone goes to visit Paris to, or London, to agencies there. People are still going into the office. We
Right.
don't have that much here anymore.
Yeah.
Um, and so if they had someone coming to the US, how are they going to figure out where everybody is, or, the US or Canada, where they are,
Hmm.
um, and engage with them, in a way that works for our market?
Yeah, I appreciate that you mentioned that because I have a South African friend who's a travel agent, but she works in a brick and mortar, and it's so interesting because I feel like when we think of North America, we're all not everybody, but mostly independent, remote travel advisors that run our own agencies, whether we're fully independent or hosted with a host agency. Whereas overseas, there's a lot of people that are still like, okay, here's the office, you're going in, there's the agency owner that takes care of a lot of the other things. Which I think that's why I find hotel representation so fascinating because everybody is in like their individualized little circuit. How can a travel advisor here in either the US or in Canada really differentiate themselves from another travel advisor that may or may not be selling identical products to them?
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think one of the ways that advisors can do that is their personal knowledge, right?
Mm,
To be able to, whether it's experiencing the properties on a firsthand basis or experiencing the destination on the firsthand basis, or having people that they can reach out to
right.
be their trusted partner. You
Hmm.
know, as I said, we'd all love to visit everywhere in this big, large world. But the reality is, you know, we're running our business, we have families, we have different things that we have to take care of. So we can't be out there 365 days a year visiting hotels and doing different experiences. And I think for advisors, this is a way that you can really show your worth to your clients.
Hmm.
You know, if it's a client that wants to experience they love boutique properties, you know, you can contact me and I can say, all right, these are the boutique properties that I represent. Here's why they're unique. Here's their story. You know, many of the hotels that I represent, and this is one thing that I love, um, you know, they're very historical in nature. For instance, one of the ones in Spain that comes, you know, firsthand, it's built on part of the former wall of Barcino. So the
Mm.
wall that used to be around the city of Barcelona. And in some of these rooms, you have that really cool exposed brick. So it
Oh.
has this really neat story to tell.
Hmm.
And those are things that I share with the advisors. You know, there's only 28 rooms at this particular property. Um, and and there's this history, there's this story, there's this emotion that we know that people like to have that connection
Hmm.
now. And these are things that the advisor can share with them. They can, you know, I can let them know, hey, you know, here are 5 restaurants that they may want to visit while they're there. Here is something really cool. Again, because I'm thinking of this particular Spain property, one of the things that I always like to do with all of the hotels is do some experiences around the area. Because yes, hotels are great. Everybody wants to stay at a beautiful property. They want to have those amenities, but it's only a part of the journey. So
Hmm.
what are they going to do when they get there? And I myself like to do kind of some unique things. So when I was in Barcelona, we went to this small winery, had a tour, a private tour, and then we were able to make our own bottle of wine. So they showed us how they mixed. We were able to put our own label on it. We were
Oh,
able to
that's cool.
cork it. So these are things that, you know, I can share with advisors. These are some things your clients may want to do when they get there. And this is, you know, it's a very private tour. It's not, you know, on a bus with 50 other people, because
Hmm.
we also have seen that, you know, your clients and travelers, they want to do something unique. They want to do something that their friends didn't do when they were in a location.
Right.
And so those are also things that I can share with them, right? Think of how much time it would take the advisor, which we know you don't have all that time, to go out and, you know, kind of research some of this. Whereas I can provide that information to you. I can suggest room categories that would be the best fit.
Hmm.
So those are things that give the advisor, number one, some time back in their life. But then they have the information firsthand.
Right.
You know, reading it on a website or, I mean, contacting the hotel is another another great thing. But that is, you'd have to contact how many different hotels, where I can provide the information on all of the hotels I represent and which might be the best ones, which, might not be a good fit. And I'm very candid about that. So if an advisor comes to me and says, I have a family that is looking for, connecting rooms in wherever it is. And if the hotel doesn't do that, I'm going to be very upfront and very transparent with you about that. I'm not going to promise something that then your clients get there and they're not happy, because that's not good for any of us in the industry.
Mm-hmm. I appreciate too that you mentioned the little like details that really make or can help a vacation stand out. Because I was reading a LinkedIn post from Jamie Savage, who's another one of our speakers. She was on Foundations Day and she did a segment, I think it was covering some of like the trends Expedia's noticing. And one of the trends is like the going away of tchotchkes almost, that travelers aren't going to like collect shot glasses or magnets or keychains. Like they want to bring back an authentic bottle of wine or authentic pasta or sauces or olive oil or whatever it might be from the destinations that they're visiting. So it's really neat that that's something that you as a hotel representation company can also help the travel advisor to differentiate themselves, like these little hidden gems that might be present there. Um, it also started getting me to think about the different properties because off the bat, I'm like, well, it's not going to be any like big chain properties that a hotel rep would represent. It is these smaller boutique, but I know you said that a lot of people in the industry kind of represent different kinds of properties.
Mhm.
What would you say, like if a travel advisor, they pique their interest, they're interested in working with a hotel rep company, like what can they find amongst the industry?
Yeah, so I think each one of us is, different. Specific to me, I represent 20 hotels, 27, excuse me, 27 hotels. And I really focus, just because of my history in global supplier management. I worked with a lot of smaller hotel brands. Plus, it's also when I'm going to a destination, my preference is to stay at a more boutique property.
Hmm.
And I think that's why, within my collection, I have a lot of those. Out of the 27, I think it's like 16 that have less than 75 rooms. Um,
Wow.
but each one of us is, a little bit different as far as um, who we represent. What type of hotels, whether, there's some representation companies that look to represent, women-owned hotel groups, or, women managed. There's some that, are global. Some of the other rep companies represent hotels in many different destinations. I'm specific right now. I have France, Greece, Portugal, Spain, and Italy, which I always say within my collection. And this is one of the things that how I wanted to build, because it was important for me and the integrity of my company, is I want my hotels to each have their own very unique story, and I want them to complement each other, not compete with each other. So, it's very easy to do a Spain, Portugal. So you could, look at staying for your clients, you could look at having them stay with a couple of the different hotels I represent. In Greece, the group that I represent, they have 12 hotels throughout 6 different islands. Well, most times when people are going to Greece, they're doing a little island hopping. So
Hmm.
they could stay within that brand in a few of the different destinations, have that same level of service, same level of consistency. But a great resource to find some of the different hotel representation companies is Lux Pages. And I know that you're partnering with them throughout your prep for Wave Week. So
Hmm.
you can go on to, as an advisor, you can go on to Lux Pages. You can search by hotel representation company, and you'll see Wanderlux Collection out there, because I do work with them. and you'll see information about the hotels. And many other representation companies as well partner with Lux Pages. So it's a great resource to learn more about some of the different representation companies and who they represent. And then, of course, getting that additional information about the hotels or the DMCs. But I think I can speak for all of us in the hotel representation space and representation space. Reach out to us. We're here to be a resource for you. And all of us want to, be able to share information, about the hotels, about the services of the partners we work with.
That's a perfect segue because I was going to ask if a travel advisor is like, okay, I need to call up Angelique. I know some people interested in Portugal. What are, to make this like an effective conversation, what are some of the things that you can assist with? Is this not only hotel information? Is this marketing materials? If they're planning a group, might you do like a webinar to let them know the ins and outs of this property, or maybe like complementary properties and some of those hidden gems? What's in your
Yes.
wheelhouse?
Yeah. So I think, of course, sharing information about the partners that we represent, getting those little nuggets of those little differentiators,
Mhm.
why this property is unique, why it may be a great fit for your client. Marketing, we're always, I have flyers for each one of the countries where I have the hotels that I represent that have, the highlights, the number of property or the number of rooms, the services that are offered. For social media, I know many times advisors are always looking for, photos, videos, all of that. I can help you, with that information. If you have, I've even done with some advisors, been on a call with them and their clients. Again, I'm not selling, directly to consumers. I'm selling, with advisors in between the hotels I represent and the advisors. So you don't ever have to worry, that I would be, reaching out to your client directly or anything like that. But, when a client has a lot of questions about a destination, maybe that an advisor is not as familiar with or not as comfortable with. So I've jumped on calls with advisors and their clients to answer questions, to give that information. Experiences, in and around the hotel. I think that's another area where we can be very valuable. Many advisors are starting to do, small groups of friends, retreats, couples groups. So if they're, looking for the information on that, who do I contact at the hotel specific to groups? That's another area we can help you with. So I think that there's really a lot where we can provide resources to advisors. And I think one of the biggest things that is the efficiency part of it, right?
Mhm. Yep.
Instead of the advisor being out there and looking on Google or whatever to try to find this information, do they have connecting rooms? Shoot me an email. Hey, I'm looking for Paris. What hotels do you represent that has connecting options? Pick up the phone and give me a call instead of, trying to go to the hotel website, find the information if they don't have it out there. So I think these are just some of the ways, that we can be a resource for the travel advisors we work with.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned, especially with the retreats, because I feel like the retreat business is bouncing back and bouncing big. And I think like that's a lot of, especially when I'm thinking about like high-end corporate or luxury coaches, either business coaches, personal coaches. That's a big thing that they want to do is host a retreat, but an international retreat. So to be able to have a resource like yourself instead of being like, okay, I have all these hotels in Spain, to be able, okay, well, Angelique has these hotels, so let's focus on this and let's call her up and see like where it's almost you are elevating the matchmakerness of what the travel advisor does in their day-to-day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, in the representation world, right? Within the North America market, all of us, again, most of us are owning our own business, and most of us talk to each other, on a regular basis. When we go to events, not only are we, seeing advisors, but I'm talking with other hotel representation companies, and so if I don't have something that you're looking for, I can say, hey, contact, Rita at X company. She may have something that's a better fit for your clients. And I think, we're all very professional in that, to be able to say, hey, have you thought of this company? I don't do anything in the Caribbean or Mexico or anything like that. So if someone were to contact me, I can say, hey, check out, give so-and-so a call.
Okay.
They'll be able to help you more in that area.
Is hotel representation limited to just luxury properties, or could we say like it extends to premium or people looking for a really great experience? I don't think it's a budget-friendly option. I feel like that's more the big tour operators, but I don't think it's necessarily just for luxury.
Yeah, no, and there are different representation companies out there that have hotels in that 4-star space
Okay.
as well. When I was, coming up with my company and doing the research and my SWOT analysis and all of that, I knew that I wanted to stay, kind of in the Europe environment. I knew that I wanted to focus on luxury. And I knew that I wanted to have an aspect that was in that boutique space. So the smallest hotel I represent has 11 rooms. The largest has 200 plus. So there's everything in between, kind of in that space. But for me, again, going back to the type of hotels that I like to stay at, I do have a large number of hotels that are, in that smaller space. So, it really just depends on, the hotel representation company as far as, the clients that they're looking for, the clients that are a good fit for them.
This was a really great conversation. I very much appreciate your time. For anybody who's kind of like, okay, I think I need to dive into the world of hotel representation, what are some places aside from Lux Pages? I know that you have a newsletter, and then I think you also do webinars every now and
Yes,
then.
yes. So I'm, regularly doing webinars for individual travel advisors, for, travel agencies. You can feel free to reach out to me, Angelique, and it's Angelique at wanderluxcollection.com, or go to the website, wanderluxcollection.com. I have a contact us form out there. You can put in your email. And asked to be added to the newsletter. I am a big proponent as far as newsletters and information going out. I don't send more than 2 a month, because that is, I've been on the other side as well, where you're getting inundated with emails from hotels, from representation companies, from tour operators, all of that. So one of the things is I always wanted to make it a point that I was not going to be, consistently every week, a couple times a week going out to advisors, because I think you have enough going on in your world. So I don't ever send more than 2 a month. But each month I feature one of the different hotels, kind of go a little bit more in depth into that. It's no more than a 5-minute read, because again, advisors don't have that much time to do that. But then any updates that are going on, I also include that in there. So it's really, another great resource for advisors. But as you can tell, I'm not shy. I love to talk. I always encourage advisors to pick up the phone and give me a call. when you have questions, about a specific property or want to learn more. I'm more than happy to do that also.
Awesome. And you mentioned that you were at or going to be going to T-Fest soon. Are there any other like big annual events that you're always at so that people maybe add something to their calendar?
Yes. So I was just at ILTM
Okay.
Americas in Baja Mar last month. I will be at Tea Fest at the end of this month. Um, I also participate, I'm a member of ASTA. So
Mhm.
I do some of the different ASTA events as well. Next year, I'm going to be at Global Travel Marketplace in July in Florida. So that's another one that I'll be attending. I was at IMAX, well, not me personally, but I had a member of my team that was at IMAX Las
Okay.
Vegas because some of the hotels that we work with are focusing in, on some of those small groups and meetings kind of things.
Mhm.
But in my newsletter, I always kind of give a rundown of where I'm going to be. I'm doing sales calls. I'm working on my calendar for next year. So hopefully I'll meet many of you in my travels around the US and Canada.
Yes, and I'll be sure to add some of the links below. Before we jump off, just want to give a huge shout out to our partners for the event, presenting partners, Travefy and TA Toolkit, and our premier partners, Inflow Design Co., Fine Travel, and Lucia. And again, a huge thank you to you, Angelique, for sharing with us a bit about hotel representation and what you and the rest of the hotel rep industry does for travel advisors and boosting their business.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And best of luck, everyone, as you're out there, working with additional clients. And please feel free to utilize not only myself, but I'm speaking for the other representation companies. Our job is to provide information to you about the products we represent. And so don't be afraid to reach out to any of us for that information.
Perfect. All right, travel pros. If this might happen to be your last interview conversation for the day, I will see you at 3 p.m. if you've got the study hall pass Eastern time. If not, we did it. We finished Prep for Wave Week together. There is a little survey that I would love for you to complete available inside of your portal. And I will see you in your inbox or on the podcast, but I will see you around. This is not the end of our journey together. So until next time, everybody, bye.